And a very good Monday night evening to you all. This is the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders, and you're listening to a special edition of the Rcwr Show as it's our Monday night edition. That's right, we're making a rare Monday night appearance. It's not every day we make a Monday night appearance. We wanted to make this Monday night appearance as a way of thanking you, the loyal listeners, for continuing to support our show and check out all the episodes that we put up on a weekly basis, as we're just coming fresh off of the heels of the fifth installment of WWE Night of Champions from this past Sunday, where every single WWE Championship title was on the line. Definitely was a very solid pay-per-view. It just made more sense to sit up and provide you all with the fallout from that pay-per-view, as this post-Night of Champions episode of Raw came to us from Bridgeport, Connecticut, not too far from the WWE headquarters. Thank those of you that's checking out tonight's episode live right now on blogtalkradio.com and over at our sister website at infinityoneproductions.com. We've got the chat room that is live. It's open right now. Feel free to jump on in there. You can also interact with us on Twitter during the course of tonight's show, as we're at Twitter on Infinity1Prod, at Twitter at Infinity1Prod. We'll also be opening up the phone lines in the later part of the show to get you all's reaction. So definitely, if you want to chime in your thoughts on tonight's episode of Raw, you are definitely going to be able to do so when we open up those phone lines later on in the show. We're actually joining Raw in progress right now, where the main event sees John Cena teaming up with the WWE Champion CM Punk to take on, John Cena teaming up with Alberto Del Rio to take on the team of CM Punk, the WWE Champion, and the World Heavyweight Champion, Sheamus. Definitely a very solid match so far right now. As you see John Cena in the ring, he is doing his trademark 2 shoulder block clotheslines, followed up by the You Can't See Me on CM Punk. Not really sure if he's going to be able to connect, and it was not able to connect as CM Punk tried to kick John Cena in the face, but Cena was able to grab that leg in time, and he turned it into a STFU. As quickly, Alberto Del Rio tried to get into the ring, but Sheamus met him with a bro kick. CM Punk follows it up by clotheslining Sheamus. As soon as CM Punk turns around, John Cena hits him with the attitude adjustment to just pick up the 3 count. As wait, a little bit of controversy happening right here, as the referee is holding up John Cena's hand in victory. However, Paul Heyman would point out that CM Punk's leg was on the ropes, but the referee did not see this, as he is giving the win to Sheamus and John Cena. Definitely a controversial finish right here. Funny, isn't it? Because we just came off of a controversial finish last night at Night of Champions. CM Punk is explaining his case to the referee, but the ref is letting him know he did not see it, that he is now noticing this after the fact. But that's it. It is a 3 count. The referee, his word is final. We're seeing a recap now of what had happened, as John Cena applied that attitude adjustment to CM Punk to pick up the victory. And let's see exactly what happened here. Yes, CM Punk was able to get the leg up in time. I actually thought that maybe Paul Heyman might have grabbed the leg, but he did not. CM Punk was able to put the leg up on time. And CM Punk is still pleading his case to the WWE official, but the referee, again, he is not having it. CM Punk is just livid right now, as he is just being over dramatic, selling what had happened here. We see Paul Heyman getting in on this as well. CM Punk, he's trying to calm himself down here, as wait, CM Punk, he is now blocking the path of the referee. And I should point out, this is a referee I have not seen before. To my knowledge, this referee has not been on WWE main television programming before. He looks like a very young Eric Bischoff. Looks like someone who Kevin Nash would probably look at and say, hey, Ken Dow. Definitely Scott Hall would say that CM Punk is continuing to badger this referee as he makes his way to the backstage area to end this episode of WWE Raw. Thank those of you that's checking out this episode right now. For those of you that were not fortunate to check out tonight's WWE Raw, as we actually bumped into quite a few of you on our Twitter feed, don't worry, we definitely got you all hooked up right now. Let's take it up to the very top for those of you that had missed it. And this week, we got treated to what I must admit was a very solid installment of WWE Raw, and it's not every day I can sit up and I can say that it was a very good, solid episode of Raw, as these 3 hours, it definitely was worth kicking back, and it was worth checking out because we had got treated to something that is a rarity nowadays, especially for Monday Night Raw. We got treated to a 3-man commentating. That's right, 3-man commentating, as not only did we get Michael Cole, we got the return of JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield, but as an added bonus, WWE Hall of Famer, good old JR, Jim Ross, came on down to complete this trio, and it was like shades of yesteryears. It was just really nice seeing these 3 guys just have at it throughout the entire night. As these guys, folks, they literally did a superb job having you feel invested with every single match that was on the card, as we just saw them tell really great stories, give you those things that you miss, those background stories of that wrestler, their upbringings, definitely sorely missed, as you just don't quite get that when it comes to the Jerry Lawler, Michael Cole combination there. No disrespect to those 2 guys, but it was definitely a breath of fresh air to hear some really great commentating. These guys, they didn't really focus too much on naming moves, but just the way that they were just setting it up, all the matches, everything that was happening, you definitely walked away from this episode saying to yourself, it wasn't that bad of a 3 hours, as at some points it did kind of seem like it was a little bit of a stretch there, as I know a few times, it was kind of rare, but there was a few times I kind of wished, I wish Raw would just be 2 hours tonight, but luckily the great commentating of all 3 of those guys, it definitely kept you into the programming. Hopefully we can get enough WWE fans to try to let their voices be heard, and maybe they could try to see if maybe this could be something permanent on a regular basis. If not with Jim Ross, definitely you want to maybe see if you can keep JBL on the Raw side of things. It would be nice. But Michael Cole, he would give us an update once more on Jerry the King Lawler. Turns out he had got released from the hospital several hours ago or sometime yesterday, and he had touched ground in Memphis. He actually had met with the doctor that had saved his life, and it was revealed that come next week on Raw, Michael Cole is going to be having an exclusive interview with Jerry the King Lawler, since having that heart attack live on Raw last Monday night. So definitely should be a emotional must-watch episode of Raw coming next week. One thing that I had noticed as they were showing footage of Jerry the King Lawler touching ground in Memphis that I just thought was a little bit, that's kind of odd. Maybe, just maybe now, they will show some type of additional footage, I would hope, if they were able to get it. But the footage that they did show us, it showed a very happy Jerry Lawler. He gets off of this plane. It looked as if maybe he had got off the WWE corporate jet. Maybe it was Vince McMahon's private jet. I'm not sure. But it definitely looked like a WWE corporate jet. and we see him arrive at the airport or whatever, and we see him get greeted by the doctor. I believe his girlfriend was off in the distance there, but that was pretty much it. And I just kind of thought that it was a little bit odd. Now, I didn't overanalyze this scene, but when I saw this, I said to myself, wait a minute, isn't this the same Jerry Lawler that had tried to see if he could become the mayor of Memphis, because he was so beloved, so well liked, so many people liked him, and even though he had got a huge defeat, there was still a great turnaround for the people that had came out to vote for him. So I'm kind of considering that, and I'm saying to myself, wait a minute here, where is everybody? Where is the welcome home hero salute or legendary wrestler salute? Where is all this? And we didn't actually get to see any of that, which I thought was definitely kind of odd there. But let's see how things happen next Monday night, as Jerry Lawler will be having that interview with Michael Cole via satellite. That should be definitely interesting right there. And for those of you that are wondering just what the future may hold for Jerry Lawler, as far as if he's going to be able to eventually come back to commentating, well, Vince McMahon reportedly now, and we've heard this from a few reliable sources, Vince McMahon, he's reassured Jerry Lawler that he's got nothing to worry about. His commentating job is going to be there for him when he comes back. He just wants for Jerry to focus on getting better right now and just come back when he's 100%. And Vince McMahon was actually a little bit shaken up at what all had happened with Jerry the King Lawler last Monday night. So definitely, if anybody is in better spirits right now, it's definitely Vince McMahon. Now he knows that King is going to be okay. But, yeah, for those of you wondering if that's the end of Jerry Lawler's commentating, he's definitely going to be coming back. However, the one thing that you can probably be certain of, that is Vince McMahon definitely taking a step back and reevaluating using Jerry Lawler to wrestle. I don't really think at this point Vince McMahon wants it to be on his conscience of Jerry Lawler's health as he has him go out there, wrestle a match. I mean, I think at this point Vince McMahon would probably be like, okay, look, what you do on your time, that's at your own accord. You want to do wrestling matches for other indie promotions, I can't stop you. I can't control you from that. But if you're going to be doing something in the WWE, I definitely have some say with regards to that. So it wouldn't strike me if Vince McMahon were to possibly take a step back and try his best not to use Jerry Lawler, just have him stick to commentating. And honestly, I'm all fine for that. I know a lot of us have said over the years that Jerry Lawler, he's got no business being in the ring. A lot of us had said, look, he's old, but then the majority of us basically said, hey, he has no business being in the ring. It needs to be about the other wrestlers. There's no reason for him to even be involved in the storylines. That's pretty much the whole argument. It's not really about his age. It's just really about making it be about those younger wrestlers. But, yeah, really nice development right there with regards to what is going on with Jerry the King Lawler right there. Moving right along now, folks, get you guys caught up on the latest WWE Raw results, as we had saw Paul Heyman come on down to the ring to WWE Champion CM Punk's music, and he would proceed to tell the WWE Universe about how he felt that the referee, Chad Patton, made the right decision at Sunday's Night of Champions. As remember, folks, it was a controversial finish between CM Punk, John Cena, as John Cena, it's not every day we get to say this, but John Cena, he just came out of nowhere with a German suplex to pin the WWE Champion 1, 2, 3, and just when it looked as if John Cena was going to be awarded with the WWE Championship, it would actually turn out the match ended in a draw because John Cena's shoulders were on the mat. CM Punk's shoulders were on the mat. And as we all know, in case of a double count out there, in case of a double pin count, the championship will remain with the champion in the event that there is a draw contest. And that's exactly what had happened. And we actually got to see footage from a different angle, not of WWE's cameras, as a fan who was in attendance. He has showed the match, in particular that German suplex that John Cena gave to CM Punk, as he had a pretty good ringside seat, and I guess he posted this on YouTube. Later on, it would get pulled, but Paul Heyman, he was able to get a hold of this footage, and he showed it. And once again, we could not see anything that would even suggest that John Cena definitely should have became the WWE champion. It still looked exactly like the referee, Chad Patton, had called it. And Paul Heyman, he proceeds to praise Chad Patton. He gives him nothing but a lot of respect, telling him, hey, you had to make a very difficult decision right there, but it was the right decision. As soon we see John Cena come out, and John Cena would reveal a conversation that he had with Chad Patton, saying that although he didn't like the decision, he felt that it was definitely the right one, and he holds nothing personal against Chad, as the two of them are actually very good friends. They've known each other for a long time, so basically he respects Chad, he respects his decision, but what he can't respect is the way CM Punk was able to retain his championship, as John Cena puts the question out there to Paul Heyman, do you really think this is how CM Punk wants to retain his championship? Do you really think that CM Punk wants to leave that gulf just floating in the air? Are you sure that he's going to be happy keeping the title like this under these circumstances? And Paul Heyman, acting as the voice of the voiceless, would say yes. And he would also inform John Cena that Punk is scheduled to arrive shortly, as he's not quite there in the arena yet, as John Cena, he is spoiling for a fight. He wants to have a rematch against CM Punk for the WWE Championship tonight. As all of a sudden, we got to see Alberto Del Rio come down to the ring, and he would proceed to tell John Cena how he's had chance after chance, and that if anybody deserves a rematch, it is him, because of the actions of SmackDown General Manager Booker T, who just after 9 days had banned that devastating bro kick from Sheamus. He reinstated it at Sunday's pay-per-view, and Sheamus was able to pick up the victory with that bro kick. Del Rio feels that he was cheated out of his World Heavyweight Championship match, as that ruling just came from out of nowhere. Soon we see Raw General Manager AJ Lee. She comes down to the ring, skipping her little cute ass as always, and she pretty much tells the guys that are there that she has an idea for a awesome main event match, which is going to see the WWE Champion CM Punk team up with Alberto Del Rio to take on the team of the World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus and John Cena. So there's your main event match for tonight, folks. It was definitely a very solid episode right there with regards to that match. Backstage segment, we had Sin Cara, Rey Mysterio, as they got to see some tag team action next, as they had took on the team of Epico and Primo, and they had picked up a victory right here. Definitely the pairing of these two, I'm loving it. It seems like Sin Cara is kind of working out those kinks. He's kind of working out those botches whenever he's teaming up with the 619, Ray. Definitely love what's happening right here. This is what needs to continue to happen. I would not be so prone to always want to put Sin Cara in singles competition. I think right now the best money needs to just be put on having Sin Cara just continue to team up with Ray, let him really learn all he needs to learn while being under the watchful eye of Rey Mysterio. I think that's really the best way he's really going to be able to get down this WWE style of wrestling. And quite honestly, if he's not going to be able to get it down, then maybe WWE should kind of revisit this whole Sin Cara thing and the way he's wrestling. And maybe it needs to be a case where the other wrestlers need to try to step up to his game, as I heard nothing but good things from people that have been following Sin Cara for many, many years, saying that the guy, he knows how to wrestle. It's just he's breaking his style down for WWE programming. Well, if that's really the case, then maybe a test run should be happening right about now, and let's see what he can really do without there being so many restrictions. I know Chris Jericho, he was one of those type of wrestlers back in his day. He definitely had that type of style that, unfortunately, other wrestlers, they just had to step their game up when it came to taking him on in the ring, because he was doing moves that nobody had ever seen before, let alone a straight-up pure American. So maybe this needs to be a case where the same rules need to apply with Sin Cara. Who knows? But the team of Rey Mysterio, Sin Cara, they would pick up a win on Epico and Primo post-match. It's where it got very interesting, though, because we saw Darren Young and Titus O'Neil attack the Mags duos, and they just beat them down really good as they proceeded to grab a microphone and tell all how they were legitimately the true number one contenders for those tag team championships that they felt were stripped away from them. And they promised that from here on out, they are going to be the ones to do the taking, as these guys, they really spoke with great passion. They spoke with great conviction. It seems like these guys, they got a fire that is just lit under them right now, and it seems like they got that hint of a mean streak that's happening for them. Definitely going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Very curious. You know, the other thing that I like that's happening here, I love that eventually, and I said it a couple of weeks back, I said, you know, you do this right, you put the belts on Daniel Bryan and Kane, eventually you set it up, you have them work a program with the primetime players where the primetime players will be able to capitalize on Kane and Daniel Bryan, since they really are having that much of a hard time getting on the same page. Darren Young, Titus O'Neil, they'll be able to capitalize on that, and they'll be able to become the new WWE Tag Team Champions that way. So far, all the seeds are just beginning to be put in place, and I'm definitely loving what's happening right there, especially with the primetime players. You know, we were talking about Kane and Daniel Bryan just a few seconds ago. They also saw in-ring action tonight, as they had defended their tag titles in a rematch against Kofi Kingston and R-Truth, as they had invoked that rematch clause. And once again, we had saw that miscommunication problem between these two guys. They are just going through that whole, I'm better than you, I'm the tag team champions of the world. Notice they put the I singular in there, and then they ended with champions plural. That's definitely conflicting right there. But in either case, folks, we had Kane, Daniel Bryan, who just all throughout the night, they were in these backstage skits, and every time you saw them, all they were going around saying was, I'm the tag team champions of the world. I'm the tag team champions of the world. You see Kane, he's saying the same damn thing. Definitely some hilarious stuff right there, as we had saw these two. As I said, they defended their titles against R-Truth. Kofi Kingston was a little bit shady there midway in the match, as it just seemed as if the team was about to just explode, but they were able to hold it down just long enough to be able to retain their titles, and they did it in really great fashion. This is probably the only time that I can really seriously recall where R-Truth, Kofi Kingston, came off looking somewhat relevant. Not to the point that I wanted to see them become tag champions, but it was like, oh, wow, they're actually putting on a really great match against Kane and Daniel Bryan. Oh, that's pretty good. It just kind of seemed as if maybe now they were kind of stepping their game up a little bit because they had something that they wanted to prove. Well, a little bit too late for that considering you had the tag titles for a good number of months there. Nice try, but yeah, Kane, Daniel Bryan, just awesome. I love how WWE Creative is just really utilizing the hell out of these two guys right now. We were interacting with you all on Twitter, and I know I actually had a hand tonight because it's kind of rare I get to kick back and interact with you all during a whole episode of Raw, as I'm usually trying to get the blueprints down and I'm watching the show. I'm trying to figure out what all I'm going to talk about on Tuesday's show. But I'm looking at this episode tonight and I was interacting with you all. One of the things that had kind of came into my mind when I'm seeing Daniel Bryan and Kane, I just had in the back of my mind, I wonder what The Undertaker would think of seeing his little brother go through these silly anger management classes. I wonder if Undertaker would kind of really show him some tough love and really just pretty much beat his ass, because I'm just kind of playing in the back of my head. Undertaker always kind of came off like that type of brother that not necessarily wanted to protect his little brother, but he just kind of came off like, okay, little brother, you're always being weak as always. I just kind of get that kind of vibe from Undertaker. Would be kind of nice to maybe see Undertaker somewhere down the road rub heads with this Kane that is having his little anger management classes. I just think that would be some hilarious stuff right there. I could be wrong, but I love how WWE management is just doing a superb job using the team of Daniel Bryan, Kane. There were a few weeks there where I kind of sat up and I said to myself, oh, my God, how are you going to be able to top this? And then the next week we see what happens, and it's like, how are you going to be able to top that? And so far you can just really tell that the writers are being very careful with how they are booking this team. They are really being careful with making sure that they have the right type of segments for these guys. They definitely come off as if they're like a priority number 2 or 3 when the writers are getting together trying to figure out what the next script is going to be for Raw and SmackDown. As the tag team here, they've been doing double duty on Raw and SmackDown. So for those of you that don't watch Friday Night SmackDowns, why you're not watching Friday Night SmackDowns, I don't know, but you want to DVR it, do what you got to do. That show actually kicks ass. But, yeah, you'll be able to see Kane and Daniel Bryan on Friday Night SmackDown as well. Moving right along, folks, we had got to see coming up next our next match, which saw Eve taking on Beth Phoenix in a singles contest, as we had the lovely Layla at ringside, and she was commentating during this match along with JBL, Jim Ross, Michael Cole. She was giving her thoughts on losing that Divas Championship to Eve, as at Night of Champions, Eve defeated Layla to become Divas Champion, as originally it was Caitlyn that was supposed to be in that match, but somebody had pulled a Tanya Harding, and they messed up her knee. Now, we had got an update on that, as we have found out that Caitlyn, she does not need surgery on her knee that was attacked by a masked assailant, an unknown masked assailant at that, as unfortunately she's going to be out for several weeks. Again, she does not need surgery. She'll be able to wear a knee brace in the meantime. I definitely love them explaining what's happening with Caitlyn. definitely a good way to write her off, and definitely a way to move forward, I think. Now, I love the fact that they have that storyline on the back burner, and I'm like this: if Caitlyn can prove that she should be given that time, that spotlight to be able to talk, if she can prove to creative that she can be up there with Eve, with a AJ, with a Vicky Guerrero, then yeah, I definitely see good things happening for her. Hopefully this time that she has away from television, it'll give her a little bit of time to fine-tune her craft, as we saw Eve defeat Beth Phoenix. Now, I know we got some hardcore Beth Phoenix fans out there. Yeah, I must admit, I was definitely a little bit shocked to see Eve pick up a victory over Beth Phoenix, but these two, they definitely had a pretty solid match right here. I just love how JBL, Jim Ross, Michael Cole, they actually took this time out during this match. Rather than just talk about gibberish stuff, they actually took the time out to really let you know what all had been going on. They actually made you feel invested into this match, I must admit. And that's despite a crowd that kind of really wasn't there. Well, the announcers, they definitely did one hell of a job selling this match right here. Definitely a team I want to see continue to call Divas matches right here. But as from there, folks, we had got to see Brodus Clay reunite with Naomi and Cameron, as let's not forget that lovely girl Cameron, she had sat up and she had those DUI problems a couple of weeks back. For those of you that might have missed it there, pretty much in a nutshell, she got pulled over by police and she had lied to them when she said that she was employed with Wells Fargo instead of saying that she was working for the WWE. She even tried to bribe one of the police officers, saying she'd give him $10,000 if he'd let her go, and she got arrested either way. Now, she tried to quietly sweep all this under the rug, but TMZ, a few other news media outlets, they were able to get a hold of this story, and once word got back to WWE and they confronted her with this, she then came clean, and they really didn't like the fact that they found out about all this after the fact, so they had no choice but to suspend her, and she was suspended for 15 days. Now, I know we had a lot of people that had speculated that, oh, well, because she's been removed from these dates, maybe it means that WWE is going to be firing her. Again, that's speculation, that's rumors. We don't like talking about stuff like that because unless you can sit up and come up with some really hard, concrete facts, there's really no point of even mentioning that stuff. It's just one of those, take it by the day and see what happens. Definitely was nice to see her return. Hopefully she's learned her lesson. She's a young girl, an attractive woman at that. Hopefully she's learned her lesson as we got to see the trio reunite, as Brodus Clay had got to take on Heath Slater as Antonio Cesaro was at ringside. Now, we would see Brodus Clay pick up a victory over Heath Slater, and I just loved how, once again, JBL, Michael Cole, Jim Ross, they are just doing a great job selling Antonio Cesaro. Cesaro, he is just continuing that feud that he has with Brodus Clay, as he told them that, hey, I have nothing personal against Brodus Clay, but him sticking his nose in my business last week definitely was unacceptable. Unfortunately for him, I now have him under my radar. And he would say, hey, it's nothing personal. I just don't like him as a human being. You can't really read in between that. That's pretty much been laid out plain and simple right there. So definitely like what's happening here with Antonio Cesaro, Brodus Clay. As coming up next, we had got to see The Miz unveil a new segment. That's right. It was a new segment called Miz TV. I mean, he had the whole upside M going on and everything. Miz would come out wearing a nice suit, and for those of you that might have missed the pay-per-view, yes, he is still retaining his Intercontinental Championship as he is looking good on this inaugural episode of Miz TV, as he points out that it's better than the Cutting Edge, Piper's Pit, the highlight wheel, as he bashes Roddy Piper, Edge, Chris Jericho, saying that they were never charismatic and awesome as he is, as he beat not one, not two, but three superstars in one night at Night of Champions to retain his Intercontinental Championship. Shades of Chris Jericho right here, who will be quick to point out to you that he beat The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the same night to become the first ever undisputed champion. Well, Miz's first guest on this show was none other than SmackDown General Manager Booker T, folks. Booker T, he came on down to the ring, and Miz, he was just spitting out real nice hot garbage to Booker T, not giving him a chance to talk, as he bashes Booker T for reinstating the bro kick, putting Del Rio at a disadvantage. He bashed Booker T for putting him in that triple threat match for that Intercontinental Championship, and would jump out there and say that Booker T must have something personal against him. He must be jealous of him and his success, and that he must wish that he could make a return to the ring, that he was still an in-ring competitor. As Booker T, he finally just had enough of hearing Miz, and he said to him, you know what, I think your show needs a special guest instead of me. And we heard the music of Ryback hit, and the fans, they were just definitely behind Ryback, who came on out, and he is just gunning straight for Miz, who just quickly gets out of the ring, as we see Ryback just destroy the whole set of Miz TV. And we see Miz, he just has this shocked look on his face as he just walks off. And you're just looking at this, and I know when I saw this, I'm saying to myself, okay, this is awesome. This is the next development with Ryback right now. Okay, this is good, because now we're going to really get to see what Ryback is really capable of. If anybody might remotely be able to pull out a really good match with Ryback and possibly take him to his true wrestling limit, it is definitely The Miz, who in his own right, he definitely is a guy that knows how to bring it. You put him in that right type of match, he's definitely on point. Yeah, he's got an obnoxious personality, but the guy is a decent wrestler. I feel this was definitely a really good new development right here, as I kind of walked away from this segment saying to myself, shades of Chris Jericho and Goldberg. And for you guys that remember WCW back in the day, you definitely know what I'm talking about. It kind of reminded me there of all those weeks that Chris Jericho was just constantly bashing Goldberg, and he was saying Jericho won, Goldberg none, and just week after week after week we just saw Jericho set up, and he's just mocking Goldberg. He had the whole Gilbert thing going on. It was just awesome stuff until finally we got to see Goldberg finally get his hands on Jericho. You know, if they do this right, it's kind of like going to be that type of a storyline where history will be repeating itself if handled right. So I definitely love what's happening right here as we got this new introduction of Ryback and The Miz. Should definitely be something to watch in the coming weeks. From there, folks, we see Michael Cole. He updates us one more time on Jerry Lawler. Same status as before, as he's plugging the interview that he's going to have with him next week on Raw. As from there, folks, we saw a pretty solid match between Dolph Ziggler and Santino Marella. Dolph Ziggler right here. He definitely, man, what can you say about Dolph Ziggler? Even when he loses a match, he looks good. But when he wins, it's better. And as we all had saw on Night of Champions on Sunday, we saw Dolph Ziggler lose to Randy Orton. But then less than 24 hours later, folks, we see Dolph Ziggler pick up a victory over Santino. And don't get me wrong, it was a decent match, but I'm just kind of saying to myself, okay, this is Santino. This match really doesn't do anything. And I'm just really concerned about Dolph Ziggler right now. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely concerned because, like I said on the Rcwr Show, Call That Match special, when I was giving match predictions for the Night of Champions pay-per-view, I told you guys, and I've been saying it the past couple of weeks now, I have really great concern for Dolph Ziggler. I mean, the guy, he wins one week, he loses the next. He's just been on this whole seesaw thing, and I'm just really starting to get the impression here that WWE, they aren't quite sure when they want to have him cash in that briefcase and become a world heavyweight champion. I mean, just think about it, folks. Could you imagine what would have happened if Ziggler would have lost to Santino? Now, I know that probably would not have happened, but let's just say, hypothetically speaking, you have Ziggler lose to Santino, and you're supposed to take this guy seriously as the next world heavyweight champion, right? You'd have a hard time doing so if he's losing to people like Santino. So I just want to see some type of consistency, and I got to be honest here, I was a little bit surprised that Dolph Ziggler had this match against Santino, as I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, he just had an awesome match with Randy Orton. Shouldn't maybe the two of these guys be continuing the beginnings, it looked like, of a rivalry there? But in either case, Dolph Ziggler, he picked up the victory over Santino right here. Next match of the night, we saw Wade Barrett in action as he had taken on former Nexus member / core member Justin Gabriel. These two, they definitely had a very solid match. Wade Barrett, this was my first time seeing him back. I know he had came back sometime last week or the week before, if I'm not mistaken. This was actually my first time actually seeing him. And to see him in action, it was definitely a joy. I love the Barrett barrage. I love this guy. He's just freaking amazing. Definitely a future world heavyweight WWE champion. And I'm not just saying that. I love the guy. I remember the minute that he had first popped up on NXT, I was behind the guy then, and he's just one of those type of guys that I've been following his career pretty much ever since. So I definitely love seeing him in the ring tonight as he pulled a page from the Big Show's playbook. He bust out his own version of a WMD. It looked very, very devastating. It kind of reminded me of that scene from Conan the Barbarian movie. For you guys that remember, and I'm not talking about that new Conan the Barbarian that came out. No. I'm going OG here. I'm going with the one that came out with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Remember the scene there where Conan, he punched the hell out of a camel? Well, pretty much that's how Wade Barrett punched the hell out of Justin Gabriel as he was able to pick up a victory right here. It was something that was just really devastating. I was definitely liking this. I'm liking his new look. The whole beard thing going on, it makes him look well-defined, very sophisticated. I'm definitely feeling it. Main highlight of the night was a backstage segment where we got to see R-Truth, Kofi Kingston, and they're talking with that Subway sandwich guy, Jared. And R-Truth, he's saying happy birthday, as apparently it's little Jimmy's birthday. And we see R-Truth say to Jared, hey, I have this idea for a sandwich or something like that. And Jared, he goes, well, how about this instead? And R-Truth says to him, 2 sandwiches? And Jared kind of catches on that, oh, he must want a sandwich for little Jimmy. So he gives them a 3rd sandwich, and they go disappear. Afterwards, we see Damian Sandow pop up, and he just gives these ridiculous ingredients for what he would like for his sandwich, and it was just some obnoxious, extravagant stuff that he wanted on his sandwich. As Jared looked at him and was like, "Don't quite have that, but I got the next best thing for you. I have a meatball marinara sandwich." And Daniel Sando, he just kind of looked at it, and he's like, "You're welcome," and he just walked away. And Zack Ryder, he pops up, and apparently he tries to pitch Jarrett this new idea for a sandwich. He's calling it the woo-woo-woo sandwich or some crap like that. Jarrett, he goes, "Okay, that's a pretty awesome idea, but how about this sandwich instead?" And he gives it to him. Now, here was the true highlight of the night, folks. We see Ryback. He's just quiet. He's looking dead at Jarrett. Jarrett isn't sure what to make of Ryback. Ryback, of all the times, of all the weeks, the months, we have been making fun of Ryback and saying the whole feed me more, see more, and feed me s'mores, and just feed me Chef Boyardee, all that. Finally, WWE management, they had some fun with this guy. They had Ryback say, "Feed me more," as Ryback gave him a sandwich. And Ryback, not satisfied, he grabbed another sandwich, so he walked away with two there. Great, solid moment right there. I was definitely cracking up on that segment. Definitely one of my favorite pieces of the night. As from there, folks, our sixth match of the night, and we had got some pretty solid matches all throughout the night. If I'm not mistaken, we had got about 8 matches total here. The next match that we had got was Randy Orton taking on Lord Tensai. Now, this crowd, they were a little bit off and on throughout the night. For the most part, they were on point. Right here, though, they definitely let their voices be heard, because as we saw Tensai getting it on with Randy Orton, the fans, they just kept chanting Albert. I mean, it was a very, very loud Albert, and it was so funny hearing it and trying to hear JBL, Michael Cole, Jim Ross ignore it and try to really do a good job of telling the story of what all was happening in the match. I know JBL, he tried to counter what the fans were chanting by reminiscing about Tensai's wrestling background in New Pro Japan Wrestling. He was trying to do his damnedest to get this guy over, but the crowd, they could not be ignored as they were just chanting over and over, Albert. Now, remember, folks, this was pretty much a rematch from what we had saw on last Friday night's SmackDown, where for the first time ever, Randy Orton, Tensai, they took each other on in a one-on-one match. Now, I'm looking at what had happened with Friday Night SmackDown, and I'm comparing that to their match tonight. I don't know, man. I think that the match that they had last Friday was more on point than what we had saw tonight. Definitely wasn't quite up there. They didn't quite capture that same magic they had from last week, I feel. But nonetheless, we had saw Randy Orton defeat Tensai. You're definitely looking at this and you're saying to yourself, man, since Randy Orton has come back from that suspension, WWE, they've been really getting behind him. He's been slowly moving back up the ranks there. Looks like Randy Orton could possibly be in line there for another run at that World Heavyweight Championship. I mean, he's just been looking very impressive within recent weeks. You definitely can't be disappointed right there if you're a Randy Orton fan. But once again, I just was looking at this and I'm saying to myself, where's Dolph Ziggler? It really would have been nice to see him continue the little feud there with Randy Orton. As from there, folks, backstage segment, we saw Paul Heyman, CM Punk. They bump into David Otunga with Alberto Del Rio, as there was a pretty awesome exchange of words right there between the two. And you're saying to yourself, how the heck are these two going to be able to get on the same page? As Del Rio would bash CM Punk for the way he looks, basically calling him a hobo. CM Punk would counter back saying, hey, remember, this is the same hobo that had beat you for the WWE Championship last year, and they were just going back and forth like that, and you're saying to yourself, how are these guys going to be able to get on the same page? Well, we would know in just a little bit, as that would be our main event match of the night. But first, we had got to see the one, the only Damien Sandow in action, as he pretty much had picked up right where he left off from Saturday Morning Slam. As remember, there was an episode there where he was teaching people new things to say, vocabulary words, and he was using all these big fancy words in a sentence. Well, he was pretty much picking off of what he had did on Saturday Morning Slam, as Zack Ryder would soon crash the scene. He'd interrupt him, and he'd sit up and say, hey, look, you need to shut your mouth right now. And AJ Lee, the Raw General Manager, she just put the two of us in the match, so that's why we had got this match. Damien Sandow, impressive as always. Must admit, very nice to see Sandow back on WWE programming. It just seems like he's gone there for a couple of weeks. I know I was definitely thinking about this guy at the Night of Champions pay-per-view. I'm saying to myself, why isn't he making some type of a cameo appearance here? And we hadn't really seen him on SmackDown within recent weeks. We definitely haven't really seen him on Raw within recent weeks. It was definitely nice to see him back, just looking ever so freaking impressive. I know a few people, they were a little upset what I had set up and said, Damien Sandow, he needs to be the next WWE champion, World Heavyweight Champion. They were like, no, we can't see that happen. I was like, it's going to happen eventually. The guy's got all the right tools. That's just happening for him right now. How can you not like Damien Sandow? I mean, the guy's freaking amazing. I am just relishing over the fact of seeing Damien Sandow beat somebody's ass, and just to add insult to injury after the match, he does a cartwheel. I mean, that is definitely up there with Triple H when he was pushing the whole Hunter Hearst Helmsley gimmick and he was doing a curtsy after he got done beating his opponent. I mean, that's definitely right up there. We got that new WWE 13 game getting ready to come out very soon, and we did learn that Damien Sandow is going to be a part of that game. Now, I'm not sure if he's actually on the disc or if he's going to become downloadable content, but you will be able to play as him. So special shout out to you CAW makers out there. You might want to chill making Damien Sandow, as he's definitely going to be a playable character, but definitely I was liking this match that he had right here against Zack Ryder. And our last match of the night, we saw CM Punk team up with Alberto Del Rio to take on the team of John Cena and the World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus. This was definitely a very solid match right here. And in case you all had missed it, as we had came on at the very top of the hour to let you guys know of what all had happened, as we had joined Raw in Progress, pretty much with this match, it would end in controversy. Can you believe it, folks? We get two nights back-to-back where a match involving John Cena, CM Punk, ends in controversy. Let's pick it up right towards the end here, as amongst all the commotion, we had all the guys, they were pretty much in the ring. Just about at the same time, we saw Sheamus do a bro kick to Alberto Del Rio. Then we see CM Punk attack Sheamus, and then we see John Cena come from behind CM Punk and hit him with the attitude adjustment to score a pinfall victory. Now, here's where the controversy comes into play. We see CM Punk raise his leg right at the count of 3 as he rests it on the ropes. The ref counts 3. That's pretty much it. The match is in the books. The referee did not see what had happened with Punk putting that leg up on the ropes. And we saw Paul Heyman at ringside. We saw CM Punk. They are just getting in the face of this referee, and they are just letting him have it, saying, hey, how could you call that. You have to reverse that, and the referee, he's sticking to his ruling. He's letting these guys know that, hey, I did not see that happen. I just went with what I saw, and I didn't see that. I'm counting. And that's pretty much what you're able to read from the whole body language. Was it just me, or was this a referee that we have never seen before? Because I know there's been plenty of Raws, definitely plenty of SmackDowns. I'm seeing this guy. I'm saying to myself, okay, I don't recognize this guy. I pretty much am familiar with all the WWE referees that they have. Where's this guy coming from here? He definitely looks like somebody. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe he might be a OVW wrestler, FCW wrestler or something, or a local guy. It definitely wouldn't surprise me, as we saw CM Punk, and here's the last burning image for you guys. We see CM Punk, who is just following this referee all the way to the backstage area, complaining, and is just hell-bent on the referee's ruling, and that pretty much had ended tonight's episode of Raw. So you can definitely take going into next week's Raw, just the way that everything was laid out so far. Definitely I can picture Paul Heyman, CM Punk, they call out this young referee kid, as Scott Hall likes to say, hey, Ken Dow. I definitely see them calling this guy out because he does look like a Ken Dow, and I see them possibly trying to have the ruling be reversed or have the match be thrown out. I can picture this referee not backing down from his ruling, and CM Punk, he just goes to work on this kid. I can just see him beating him up, and we see John Cena come on down, try to come to this young kid's aid. I can definitely see that happen right there. Notice we did not get a plug for WWE's next pay-per-view. And for you all that are a little bit curious here, WWE, they got a little bit of a ways to go before their next pay-per-view, as the next pay-per-view won't be happening until October 28th from the Phillips Arena in hot Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Now, I definitely am sold on how they handled tonight's episode. They just wanted it to be all about the fallout from Night of Champions. I'm all for that. Definitely, though, we got like a big stretch right there. I believe I had counted the weeks there. Looks like there's about 5 weeks of storytelling that they can do leading up into that pay-per-view. So I wouldn't be surprised if next week we start hearing maybe one match be announced for Hell in a Cell. Definitely by the week after, we should definitely start hearing some matches be announced. But I love what's happening right now with Brodus Clay and Antonio Cesaro. I love what's happening there with CM Punk, John Cena. It looks like that program is continuing. It looks like Del Rio is possibly done with Sheamus, as I know we had a ton of people that were sitting up saying Big Show is probably going to be next for Sheamus. God, I hope you guys are wrong, because that would be one boring match. I wouldn't pay to see that. I'm sorry. Big Show, I love the whole new gimmick that he's got, or actually recycled gimmick that he has going on. It's okay, but I'm sorry, I would not pay to see that match. I would rather see Wade Barrett, Randy Orton, rather see those guys get it on before Big Show. We should see what happened. I mean, we got the SmackDown tapings that's going to be coming up tomorrow, so it should definitely be interesting to see and hear what happens out of that. But I like how everything just had played out tonight. Overall, it was definitely a very solid episode of WWE Raw. You really couldn't be disappointed with this. It was definitely a very solid episode. A little bit too long in some areas, but for the most part, it was definitely on point. It was definitely a welcome back breath of fresh air to hear Jim Ross call-in matches, definitely something I sorely missed. I miss to this day. He's definitely a great throwback. Definitely look forward to hearing more, hopefully, of him and JBL just leading all the way up until Jerry Lawler returns. But hopefully WWE is taking note of what all is happening right here with this trio of commentators, as they definitely got some magic right there that's happening. And really, Raw was a fail. We got Don from New York. He thinks Raw was a fail tonight. Go ahead and finish typing that out, bro. We definitely want to know why you thought Raw was a fail tonight. And this is what we'll do right now. We'll go ahead. We'll take a very brief commercial break. Then we'll come right back. We'll see if we can open up the phone lines here, maybe get some of you all's reactions from tonight's episode. And we'll go ahead and then we'll wrap up the show. So for those of you that's checking out this special episode of the Monday night edition Wrestling Report of the Rcwr Show, thank you for checking it out on September 18th. 2012, 2 minutes past the midnight hour. We'll be coming right back, folks. Do hang tight.
Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit InfinityOneProductions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit InfinityOneProductions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Hey guys, Lee Sanders here with the Rcwr Show, and I'd like to take this time out to tell you about one or two quick apps that I think you should check out when you get a free moment. First app I'd like to recommend to you is the app from Stitcher. Now, Stitcher allows you to be able to play all our episodes of the Rcwr Show and Impact Showdown on your portable devices, such as an Android phone, Kindle Fire, iPad, you name it, it'll be able to play it. So definitely highly recommend that you check that out. It's available for free in the App Store. Stitcher, new and smart way to play radio. Also, another cool app that I'd like to recommend to you all is a new app that came out not too long ago from Apple. That's right, Apple has recently come out with a free podcast app. Now, this app is really cool, folks, because after we are done doing our shows, all you have to do is just subscribe to our episodes. And you can do this by downloading this new free podcast app. All you have to do, visit the App Store on your iPhone or iPad and just search podcast. Once the app is downloaded, you can then type in the name of our shows, the Rcwr Show and Impact Showdown, and you'll be able to subscribe. It's that easy. So you have two cool free apps that you can check out and take all our episodes with you on the go. So get to it already.
Alrighty, and we're back. You're listening to the Monday night edition of the Rcwr Show, coming at you live right now on blogtalkradio.com and at our sister website at InfinityOneProductions.com. So we got Don from New York, and here's what he had to say about Raw tonight as he's commenting in the chat room right now. And he says, and I quote, "Raw equals fail. Black Avenger equals pass. The crowd was totally flat. JBL is totally epic on the announce. The comment on Pete Rose getting advice from the blackjack table, so epic. It was their home turf, Connecticut, and the crowd was flat. Jim Ross inked a 5-year deal from Just for Men with the dye job on his goatee. Yeah. I was looking at that. And you know that new Just for Men commercial that kind of came out earlier this year with the baby and the goatee, and he's driving that nice fancy car, and the hot blonde is riding passenger side with him, and the baby's like, you need to touch up your gray. And then they show the baby, he's in some little nightclub, and he's hitting all these little cool dance poses and all that. Every time I see that little baby, for some weird reason, I think of Jim Ross. I don't know. Now that I've said that, somebody is probably going to just stick JR's head and crop it on the baby in the commercial and have him with his little dye hat. And well, if somebody ends up doing that, mad props. We definitely want to have you on the show if you do that. But, yeah, that's what I always think when I picture him. It's really silly. I'm saying to myself, just go with the gray look, man. There's nothing wrong pushing the gray look. Then again, that might be Vince McMahon. I don't know. Vince McMahon, I guess he wants to be the only one that looks gray around the company. It just seems like when it comes to guys like Undertaker, Kevin Nash, heck, even Triple H had started showing gray in his beard at one point. I remember a few points, and it just seemed like quickly he touched that up with some Just for Men hair color. I don't know. Maybe Vince McMahon has something going on there. He might be like, that beard is weird. You need to dye it, my friend. I can just picture him saying that, I mean, can you picture Vince McMahon having a conversation with Kevin Nash? Okay, Big Kev, Big Sexy, you need to dye your hair there. Looking a little like Santa Claus. I can just picture him saying that, and it's kind of like, you don't want to say no to the boss because he's signing your check, so you got to go out there and you got to look a little silly with a jet black freaking beard and hair. I just think that's freaking ridiculous right there. Special shout-out before we open up the phone lines here. I definitely wanted to get a couple of shout-outs out there. We said it on our Sunday night edition of the RCWR Post Show, but we definitely want to just take this time out to thank you, the listeners, for checking out the episodes that we did covering Night of Champions, as you had checked out our Call That Match special where we offered up match predictions for Night of Champions. And after confirming with co-producer Tammy, because there was one of my picks that had came into question, and she said to me, okay, well, your record for Night of Champions, you're undefeated. And the match that came into question was Layla versus Caitlyn for the Divas Championship. Now, if you go back, you listen to how I booked it, and, I said to co-producer Tammy, I said, okay, I need somebody to give me an official ruling here with what had happened with Caitlyn being injured and Eve stepping in. Does this count? And co-producer Tammy said, well, let's hear how you booked it. So we played it back, and she's like, no, you're okay. You said Layla versus Caitlyn. You were talking about how you would have booked it. You're okay. Your record's intact. I said, oh, okay, nice. So I came away from Night of Champions undefeated. And we definitely want to just take the time out to thank you guys for checking out that match prediction special. Thanks for taking the time out to check out that post show, as you have quickly made that be our downloaded listen to episodes. And I'm very happy to report this month isn't even over yet. And as far as our downloads and our listens go, we surpassed the month of August. So hats off to you, the listeners. And, we're going to be celebrating in style as we got that 100th episode that's going to be coming up on October 23rd. And helping us out with that, we already revealed one name. We said that the famous Justin Reno is going to be helping us out on that episode. And for you guys that did not check out Impact Showdown Radio this past Thursday night, you definitely want to go backtrack into our archives, blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. Also, episodes downloadable for free in the iTunes Zune marketplaces, keywords, the RCWR Show. Go backtrack, check it out, check out all the episodes. Definitely on point. We had a really great time with him on the show. You definitely won't be disappointed when you check it out. We also have, and this is a new name that is being announced tonight, we're going to have hip-hop Christian rapper Scooter. He's going to be returning to help out with that 100th episode. Now, Scooter was supposed to do something for us a couple of months back, but unfortunately he had an emergency with his family, and he just was not able to make the episode. And he's been saying to me, hey, man, if there's a way I can make it up, definitely would like to come on to the show next go-around. And I told him, I said, well, there's a 100th episode coming up. And he was like, done. It's on my calendar, done. I'm going to be there. So it's going to be an awesome show because the three of us, and I'm making sure that we all have enough time set to the side. The three of us, we are just going to be on the show for like the entire time. It's going to be a three-man panel. So it's going to be a badass episode. You definitely want to check it out. It's definitely going to be on point. That's going to be coming up October 23rd, Tuesday. Mark it down on your calendars, folks. And, of course, just once again, we got to take the time out to thank the kind staff of Blog Talk Radio for featuring those episodes over the weekend of our coverage of the Night of Champions pay-per-view. Much love to you guys. And one quick shout-out. I did not get this shout-out yesterday, but in a nutshell, I definitely want to send a big thank you to Bobby, who is my girlfriend's cousin. He took the liberty of popping open my laptop as it had came across some keyboard problems. I don't know if it's the motherboard that I need to replace or what, but he took the liberty of, the guy was working from 5 in the evening until almost 1 o'clock in the morning trying to fix my laptop. And such a nice guy, kind-hearted guy. Bobby, thank you very much for doing that. I know you didn't have to do that. I greatly appreciate that. Very kind of you. And, that's pretty much it. I just thought I'd mention that out there before I forget. I told him I was going to give him a special shout-out on the air. He said, you don't have to do that. Well, it's my show. I can do whatever the hell I want to do. So on that note, let's go on ahead and let's open up the phone lines, get you all's reactions to how you either liked or disliked tonight's Raw. Let's go now to 269 area code. We know that. That's our good friend Dave from the Michigan area. Dave, you're live on the air, my friend.
Hey, I wasn't going to call in because I was watching football tonight, but I wanted to show you some love. And I was asking questions of a side draw if I haven't seen it tonight, because I know you don't come on Mondays that often.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and I wanted to say something about Justin Reno. I did catch that match, and it made me think about a question. In case I don't get to ask it while I call in, in case the show's too booked where fans can ask questions, could you ask a question for me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, to ask Justin Reno is that does he like the fact that he has to put over these guys well into their 50s and 60s? I mean, because I was watching, I was like, man, it's too bad he couldn't have got over in that match.
It was a good match, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was sitting here watching on my phone. I was like, man, I just feel bad that he has to put. I'm not trying to say disrespect to the honky tonk or anything like that, but it just feels like I'm getting kind of sick of. You go to see a lot of these indie shows that feature these legends or Hall of Famers. They're still wrestling. It's like they don't want to let it go. And they got these young 20-year-olds out there who should be putting over these guys. The young guys should be putting over these old guys. They don't need it. And I was like, Reno should have got put over in that match. Yeah. I mean that's a big problem I have with some of these legs. They have these indie shows and they say, "Oh, I'm going to win because I'm whoever." Yeah. I mean,
you're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're on something
like that.
Yeah. Now, when you were watching, let me ask you, when you were watching that video, did you notice his manager was pushing one of our custom-made shirts?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, if you go back and watch it, look at the referee. You kind of have to almost squint your eyes a little bit. because he's wearing a gray shirt. That's a custom-made shirt that we had made for Justin, because I was like, what? That shirt looks familiar. And Justin has sent me a message on Facebook. He said, yeah, the manager is pushing the shirt that you had sent me. I'm like, oh, nice. I'm like, okay, that's nice. 'Cause notice it next time. He's like, you'll see our logo, and then on the back, it's got a picture of Justin Reno on it. But you bring up a very valid point, man. And you know what? If I'm good, you know what? We're gonna try to definitely make sure that we are able to squeeze in calls. I'm gonna make it be my business to make sure that we do that.
I plan on being on that show,
Yeah.
And another question I want to ask you real quick is where are we gonna be at? Because a lot of people are gonna be mad if this goes down. So WWE right now, if it goes down, like I think it's gonna go down. I don't know how you feel about it, but I see that CM Punk keeping his title till the Rumble and losing to The Rock at the Rumble. And then I see Cena winning the Rumble and then Rock and Cena Part 2 of WrestleMania. And then Cena gets the favor back and Rock puts Cena over. I can honestly see next year, this time, we're seeing Cena as a long-time champion.
Wait, back up those last few seconds. Say that last part again.
Cena as a long-time champion.
Well, I definitely see CM Punk losing to The Rock at the Rumble.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer. Now, John Cena winning the Royal Rumble, wouldn't that make him be a two-time Royal Rumble winner?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Because if I'm not mistaken, somebody in the chat room, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I was about to say, I could have sworn he won the Royal Rumble about 2, maybe 3 years ago.
Did he win it?
Yeah, because he came off of an injury or something.
Did he, Okay, man, off his neck injury, he won that? Okay, I wasn't sure if he won that one or not. I know it was in Boston, I think.
Yeah, I remember him winning that one. Yeah, because at the very end, it was Triple H. Yeah, Triple H thought it was going to be his night, but John Cena had returned, and eventually he eliminated Triple. Yeah, so if he wins the Royal Rumble again, he's going to be a two-timer.
Now, do you have a problem with the whole? Oh, so no one should have a problem with it, but I don't like the fact that they gave John Cena those new shirts, because you can't hate John Cena when he's wearing a shirt right above cancer. I mean, that's not really fair to the fans, I don't think. I know. You can't hate John Cena for having that shit. You can't root against him. Right above cancer. You'll be a jerk if you do that. That's just not fair.
Can you just imagine trying to boo the hell out of John Cena?
Right?
You go, that goddamn John Cena, but he's representing breast cancer.
I told my brother earlier, like, hey, you can't really yell at Cena now if he's one right above cancer. I mean, it's like, all right, let's go, Cena.
It was so hard to look at John Cena. I mean, this was probably one of those rare nights where I'm not even paying attention to his wrestling or his limitations in the ring, because I'm thinking, oh, wow, he's representing breast cancer, and then we find out how John Cena is the brains behind getting the whole Susan G. Komen and the WWE together. I'm like, oh, wow, really? He's the brains behind this? And I'm like, wow, this guy just got my respect. And I'm like, damn, I can't boo him now.
I mean, last night, you wouldn't know it, but, he really found him and Punk both, but, man, they both went on a great match last night. And to see Cena actually hold on to the German suplex, I was like, whoa. Supposed to be watching some Kurt Angle tapes or something.
Yeah, I don't know what John Cena was watching, but to pull out a German suplex out of nowhere.
Oh, it took him off the top rope and hold it. Not too many people can hold him like that.
Yeah.
He kept on, and he just bridged up, which kind of reminded me of the Bulldog and Shawn Michaels. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that one.
In the ring.
Yeah.
And it was just the draw. I was like, oh, okay.
Now let me pick your brain. Let me pick your brain on something for a second here before I let you go. And this also goes out to those of you in the chat room. And this is something that we need to think about here. Is it too much of a stretch right now? Because we're talking 5 weeks until WWE has their next pay-per-view, which isn't until October 28th. Do you think that WWE might need to try to put something in there in between, or is that just about the right amount of time?
I love the long pay-per-views, like the 3 or 4 weeks to build the story. I mean, I just love that fact of it. I hate that every 2 weeks is a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You know, I love the long build because, like, okay, instead of getting 2 pay-per-views on one cable bill, which kind of sucks too,
yeah.
you get, like, 1. But, yeah, I think that's what's missing a lot today from today's wrestling or entertainment, whatever you want to call it. The long builds. They don't have no more build-up anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting, like, one match and you're the number one contender. And I mean, I miss the days when you had the long builds, like the Perfect. You know, back in the day when Mr. Perfect and Bret Hart had their Intercontinental title match. Those were some good stories and builds up to it.
Yeah.
Even Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon for their whole IC build for the double IC titles.
Yeah.
I mean, they did multiple matches. And they went on for months and months. So do you think, let me ask you something, that Randy Orton's going to get any repercussions for his little telling the fans they were number one last night?
For what now?
For telling the fans last night, Randy Orton, telling them that they were number one.
Who did he tell they were number? Who did he say number one to?
No one number one. I think he's flipping them off.
I don't know what to make of Randy Orton, man. I mean, right now, Randy Orton, I am very weary of Randy Orton right now. On the one hand, I'm saying to myself, oh, so it looks like WWE is getting behind Randy Orton again. But then there's that other side of me that's looking at what's happening with Randy Orton, and I'm saying to myself, is WWE really sure they want to take this gamble? Because it just seems like time and time again, just when we think Randy Orton has learned his lesson, he's become a better man. I mean, for those of you that have not checked out that Randy Orton DVD, it's definitely an eye-opening experience. You learn so much about Randy Orton. It was definitely one of those great DVDs that had came out from WWE a while back. Definitely was very solid. You won't be disappointed. Check that out when you get a chance. I believe it's up on Netflix now. I'm not really sure. Just the story part. But I'm saying to myself, okay, Randy Orton, okay, he's on point. He's gotten everybody on his good side, but then he does something stupid. And I just am really kind of looking at Randy Orton. I'm saying to myself, time bomb waiting to happen sooner or later. It's either going to be 1 year down the road, it's going to be 2 years down the road. Sooner or later, he's going to mess up. He's going to let it all get to his head. He's going to have that big ego. And, yeah, Don, I agree. I think Randy Orton is kind of being shoved down the wrestling fans' throats right now, and it needs to be a case where let's see the other guys get elevated. Because I got to be honest with you here. And, Dave, thank you for that call, bro. I got to be honest here. Randy Orton, as a World Heavyweight Champion, possibly before this year is out, I don't want to see it. I don't even want to see Randy Orton maybe get a run sometime early next year. If I had to see Randy Orton with his shot at holding on to a title, I don't want to see it until next summer. Okay, at least by then, Ziggler should have had his share. Who else should have had their run with it? Barrett should have his go. But then again, Barrett could possibly at this point be set up to win the next Money in the Bank contract at the next pay-per-view. Or if they're going to do it at WrestleMania, then they could do it there. But I don't see Barrett really becoming a serious contender until sometime early next year. Mark my words on that. But Randy Orton, man, I really need to see him take a back seat to, I'm waiting. I'm just patiently waiting, and I'm sure a lot of you are patiently waiting for Randy Orton. I'm looking for that next evolution in his character. Randy Orton has got to be one of those type of guys out of all the WWE superstars. He's got to be the one WWE superstar I've noticed that really does not interact with the fans. I mean, I don't know if you all have peeped that out, but I mean, we see Rey Mysterio, we see Triple H, we see Edge, we see John Cena. I mean, we see practically all WWE superstars. They interact with the fans, whether it's high-fiving them or rubbing a little kid's head or grabbing a sign. We don't really see that coming from Randy Orton. It's just pretty much Randy Orton coming out with that robotic look, and he's just doing his thing in the ring, doing those same moves, that ridiculous 90-second setup for a DDT between the ropes, which I think is just stupid. Why somebody isn't countering out of that, I have no freaking clue. But, you know, I'm looking at Randy Orton and I'm saying to myself, there's just really no personality. It's like, let's start seeing some new layers unpeel from you, bro. It's time. You've been in the WWE now for about at least, thank you. I was about to say like 10 years, and you're still pushing the same monotone character. I mean, come on here. I mean, he's got a nice look. He's got a great body. He's got nice tattoos. Don't get me wrong. I mean, girls, they want to be with him. Guys, they wish they could look like him. Some guys, that is. But, you know, he just doesn't have that personality, and that's something I would like to see him work on. At least when we look at a guy like Sheamus, at least we can say, okay, you know what, Sheamus, he's come a long way. We can look at a guy like The Miz. We can say, okay, he's come a long way. We can look at a guy like Dolph Ziggler. Okay, he's come a long way. You know, really great examples right there. And all these guys are all of them, they're much younger than Randy Orton, and they're on point. So, very good question right there. I hope I answered it for you there. That's pretty much going to do it, folks. I definitely thank those of you that had checked out tonight's special episode of the Rcwr Show, airing on Monday night. And before you guys start asking, no, there's not going to be a Tuesday night edition. You realize we've been on air the past 3 nights? Brother needs a little rest. But we'll be coming at you live this Thursday night with a new episode of Impact Showdown Radio immediately after TNA Impact Wrestling. Get you guys caught up on the latest installment and get fan reactions from you all. Mad shout out to everybody that's in the chat room. Mad shout out to Dawn. Mad shout out to I Love TNA Wrestling. Mad shout out to the lovely Jennifer that was in the chat room there briefly. She's been checking out the show recently, new listener. Appreciate you checking it out. Dave, appreciate you calling to the show there, bro. And that's pretty much going to do it. So we're going to be on a 71-hour break. We'll see you guys this Thursday night for Impact Showdown Radio live on blogtalkradio.com. I'm the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. Hey, remember, you actually